Cloud9 seemed to know something that nobody else does about Valorant. They dropped one of the world's best and most expensive players and immediately became the best team in North America. But what if I told you that their economic wizardry inside the game was the real key to their superior start to the VCT season? This is how Cloud9 absolutely balls on a budget.
This is not looking good at all. It's a Jordy. It's come by himself.
Standing ahead.
Weapons are all down. Spike looking to be defused at halfway. A flick, the flick, but it's still. Do it again. Another thrifty from C9.
The Valorant wiki page defines a thrifty as any round won by a team with an average loadout 2,500 credits less than the enemy team. Much like their roster, Cloud9 have been dominating when they spend less than other teams, racking up a 30% win rate on eco and semi-eco rounds. Meanwhile, the average win rate across all three VCT partner leagues for these types of rounds is only 19%.
Holy, this was free. That's another day in the office.
Winning a thrifty round represents a massive momentum shift in the game and can be absolutely backbreaking to the losing team's chances of winning, or maybe even just win the game outright. Coming into this round, we can see that Cloud9 are on map and series point against Furia, but have also just had their economy reset. The momentum is with Furia, who have won 3 of the last 4 rounds, getting ahead in the ultimate economy, which allows them to come into this round with a lockdown, 5 rifles, and armor. Cloud9's loadout is 1 Phantom, 1 Bulldog, a Stinger with no armor, and some pistols. As the barriers drop, Cloud9 immediately flash B stairs to stop a defensive push, and Killjoy sprints into underpass behind the cover of the flash. Meanwhile, the other 3 Cloud9 players posture up outside arcade and use Boombot to check the close angle. Here's where things get extra interesting, because Zelsis begins running back towards stairs from underpass, making a ton of noise. This loud and wide swing is the perfect bait for Sky, who's stacked up behind him and has the better long-range weapon, and the bait works perfectly as Leaf nails the first kill of the round. Furia now has to react to the pressure in B stairs, so both remaining players from site come to fight Leaf and Zelsis, while Cloud9's arcade players sweep into arcade and tower for free. Leaf then pops his Seekers and swings out for another kill on the panicking Furia defenders. The defending Omen is able to finally trade out Sky, but the distraction has bought enough time for Raze to close in from behind. I have to highlight the discipline that Zelsis shows here in B main, as he ducks back into cover to preserve 4v3 numbers advantage that Cloud9 currently has. His distraction is just enough for Zeppa to clean up the Omen kill from tower, while the rest of Cloud9 swarms in from arcade as well. The round isn't over yet though, and the defending Killjoy has a lockdown to work with, so Cloud9 proactively rotates 3 players offsite early while 1 player plants. Zelsis drops his lockdown in response to Furia's, and though Zeppa dies on site, Cloud9 maintain a player advantage and now have 3 rifles in hand plus the lockdown, forcing Furia into them. Now this moment is how I know Cloud9 is for real as a team, because even with the advantage, they continue doing all the right little things. Watch how Zelsis shoulder peeks for his teammate Jakey to take the Killjoy fight and fully secure the round. The best way to overcome a disadvantage in firepower is by gaining an advantage through other factors that Cloud9 clearly demonstrated in this first example. As we break down more of these rounds together, let's pay attention to things like the positioning of players and weapons, early map control, ultimate usage, and overall teamwork and decision making. Closing out a map in a series on a thrifty round is a pretty crazy accomplishment, but this map actually had 5 total thrifty rounds by Cloud9, and 4 of them happened in the first half, a half where Cloud9 won 6 total rounds. Now, as Furia pushes up the B stairs and makes contact with the Killjoy utility, we can see that Breach is ready to rip a stun from spawn. Unfortunately for Cloud9, the stun misses everyone, and Killjoy is lucky to get 1 kill with 4 players facing them down. More importantly, however, the aggressive swing from Killjoy draws the attention of all 4 players in B main, taking it away from Cloud9's flankers to arrive at that exact moment and beam down 2 attackers from behind. Cloud9's Stingers are actually built different. The coordination of these 2 engagements by Cloud9 is so tightly coordinated that despite their better weapons, Furia can't react in time. Even though Mazen does find a kill in trade, he is surrounded by Cloud9 players and stung to death. At this point in the round, Cloud9 overheats a little bit, with Raze charging into their Doom and Breach giving an easy 1v1 to Omen's Phantom. Brimstone accidentally makes noise as well, and the Omen books it for A site with the spike. But this is where another of Cloud9's eco superpowers activates. Jakey could wait and see if Omen doubles back to B, which might be the safer play, but instead just trusts his read on the game and immediately runs through defender's spawn, which is a much shorter rotation. This beats Omen to the site and allows Brimstone to get into a super aggressive and unexpected position, which sets him up for an easy kill on the planting attacker. It's an incredibly confident play from a super inexperienced player, and that alone is very impressive. Buckle up though, because the roller coaster is not over yet. Cloud9 immediately loses the next rifle round, resetting their economy again to a low buy. This time they decide to go with a single rifle, no armor on the breach, which is a little weird, as well as a stinger and some pistols. It kind of looks like Cloud9 is expecting Furia to try and get the Dish ultimate orb, because they put the rifle there to contest along with a Raze in a little trap setup. Breach sits on the really wide off angle while Raze is ready to nade and swing off of his contact. Both B players meanwhile are playing super safe and avoiding any sort of enemy engagement. I also think it's worth pointing out at this point that both stronger weapons in Cloud9's arsenal are on the same site, and this is a trend that we'll see in other rounds later in the video. Once Furia uses a Prowler to take A main, Zelsis immediately falls back and repositions to sand to watch the sliding door. But when his turret never gets contacted, he decides to clear A main, and it even seems like he might expect somebody to be waiting there since they didn't trigger the turret. I'm telling you again, Cloud9 Stingers are a little different. We also get to see more numbers advantage discipline from Cloud9, who continue to play super safe on B, expecting the attackers to react to losing 2 players on A. By avoiding fights entirely, Cloud9 buys more than enough time for the A players to rotate and utilize their numbers advantage. Furia tries to make a play and goes 1 for 1 while Viper walks the spike onto B site. And I'm so impressed by Rooney here for Cloud9, who immediately recognizes that the only way they could possibly lose this 4v2 situation is if he loses the 1v1 with Viper. This would allow Furia to take full control of A. And so by simply holding his position, he's able to massively narrow down where Viper can play while maintaining a ton of super advanced map control for Cloud9. If he had died before C9 can rotate, they will have to re-clear the entire site from spawn. Instead, Cloud9 is able to sweep in together and immediately clears ropes, rafters, and sand at the same time. The attention to detail here is so good too, because with the spike ticking away, Killjoy takes the time to drop an alarm bot at door, a turret to watch drop, and then uses lockdown to mostly cover the site. Cloud9 are not afraid to invest round-winning ultimates on an eco round if they think it will tip the scales in their favor. Furia's Viper responds to this with a pit and tries to salvage the round, but Cloud9 swarms them and seals the deal, which also kind of wastes the Viper ultimate. But don't click off the video yet, because it's not over. Furia punches back with yet another rifle round win and yet another reset on the Cloud9 economy. This one not quite as bad, because Cloud9 comes into the round with 3 rifles and light armor and only 2 pistols. But they seem to have another set play for this one as well, because notice how there's 2 rifles on B as part of a 3-stack in arcade, while one of them defends A main. Cloud9 are fearless of fighting early on low buys, as they immediately flash and peek arcade for a quick kill. The trio then instantly rotates back towards B stairs, where they find another fight and go 1 for 1. Zeppa seems to be feeling a little frisky and confident, however, so he looks for more and finds Killjoy's dome as well. Expecting Furia to have taken tower, Zeppa tries to go a little too Rambo mode and looks for another fight, but Jakey salvages the situation by immediately backing off to maintain the 3v2 player advantage. Again, it's the little things that stand out to me, because Cloud9 never seems flustered, they never seemed rushed. They take the time to swap weapons to the healthier Breach while Killjoy closes in from B stairs. Just look how safely Breach and Brimstone are playing until Zelsis actually arrives into position for a free kill on the distracted Raze. Cloud9 continues to play passively, as they expect Omen to look for some sort of aggressive play to equalize the round, and only speed things up when the spike plant sound happens. Killjoy quickly wraps around to ropes and tower while the players in spawn double up. Omen still needs to worry about B stairs as well, since that's where Killjoy was last seen. Breach stuns tower from spawn to allow Killjoy to take control quietly, and even though Omen kills both Breach and Brimstone in spawn, Zellsis once again has perfect timing on the surprise backstab from tower. You'd think that with all of these eco round wins, Cloud9 would be way in the lead, but we seem to be caught in a time loop because Furia wins yet another rifle round to put Cloud9 on yet another eco buy. Tired of these eco rounds yet? Let me know in the comments below if you've made it this far. Cloud9's fourth eco round of the half is one of the weakest buys yet. There's a single Vandal and a Stinger to work with, but several ultimates are close to being active. Cloud9 sets up this round to look similar to the previous one, with an immediate flash and push towards Arcade, while Killjoy does the same A main turret. This time, Cloud9 pushes into Underpass when the Sky Flash finds no one outside of Arcade. They're super proactive on their eco rounds, unafraid to go for extensive map control and ultimate orb control, which in this case gives Raze access to a showstopper. As soon as Furia's execute comes out of drop, Cloud9 reacts by pushing out of both A and B mains to sandwich anybody who would be on the bottom side of the map, which is a lone Killjoy in this case. This clears out all of the bottom side of the map, and since Breach is holding a passive angle in spawn, Cloud9 now knows Furia can only be in a few spots on the entire map. Feeling maybe too confident here, the Sky Flash goes a little too deep and Zellsis gets caught by surprise, but thanks to the early aggression to get the orb for Zeppa, he's able to immediately trade back with a showstopper rocket. This aggression also forces Furia to retreat onto the site and allows Sky and Raze to both upgrade to Vandals. With spawn control, sand control, and a main control, Cloud9 have Furia boxed in. But the excitement isn't over yet, and Furia handles the pressure really well with some good teamwork of their own. This leaves Leaf in a 1v2 with the Seekers popped, and things get a little whiffy for everyone in the chaos. But Leaf was born in the chaos, and he's able to isolate the player on site before tapping the spike and aggressively swinging Viper for the clutch. Even at 27 HP, Cloud9's players are confidently making the proactive play to force Furia to react. And yeah, sometimes you just have to make hero plays to win your thrifty rounds.